When 17-year-old Maya Chun discovered a collapsed stranger outside Lincoln Memorial Hospital at 6:47 a.m. on the morning of her medical entrance exam, she had exactly 13 minutes to make a decision that would alter the trajectory of 3 lives forever: stay and help or run to secure her future. What happened next nobody could have predicted. Before we dive into this extraordinary story, please drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. We love connecting with viewers from around the world. The streets of Portland, Oregon were still draped in October fog when Maya Chun stepped off the number 42 bus at Morrison Street. Her hands were ice cold despite the thermal gloves her father had insisted she wear. Inside her backpack, 3 sharpened number 2 pencils, a scientific calculator that had cost her 2 months of coffee shop wages, and a laminated acceptance letter to the medical college admission test that represented 6 years of relentless preparation. Maya had been planning for this morning since she was 11 years old, since the day she watched paramedics work desperately to save her younger brother Daniel after his bicycle accident. They'd succeeded that day, and Maya had decided she wanted to spend her life doing the same for others. But first, she had to pass the entrance exam that only 18% of applicants conquered. The testing center was 16 blocks away. Maya had exactly 43 minutes before the doors closed and late arrivals were turned away. No exceptions. No second chances. The rules had been clear: arrive late, and you forfeit your $315 registration fee and your chance for the entire year. Maya walked quickly, her breath creating small clouds in the chilly morning air. She'd studied every night for the past 8 months after her shifts at Java Junction, often staying awake until 2 a.m. reviewing anatomy, pharmacology, and medical ethics. Her mother Nina worked double shifts as a nurse to help pay for the prep courses. Her father James had taken on weekend construction jobs. Daniel, now a healthy 15-year-old, had given her his entire birthday money to cover the application fee. This wasn't just Maya's dream. It was her family's investment, their hope, their sacrifice materialized into this single morning. That's when she saw him. At first, Maya thought it was just someone sleeping rough against the brick wall near the hospital's employee entrance. Portland had a significant homeless population, and it wasn't unusual to see people huddled in doorways seeking shelter from the cold. But something made her look twice. The man's hand was clutching his chest. His face was gray, lips pale, and his chest was moving in irregular, shallow gasps that Maya recognized from her EMT training course. Someone was having a heart attack. Maya's feet stopped moving before her brain could process the decision. She glanced at her phone. 6:49 a.m. 41 minutes until the exam doors closed. "Sir?" she called out, approaching cautiously. "Sir? Can you hear me?" The man's eyes flickered open. He was probably in his mid-50s, wearing a hospital maintenance uniform with a name tag that read Thomas Rivera. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Maya dropped to her knees, her backpack hitting the pavement with a thud. Her EMT instructor's voice echoed in her head. "Assess. Act. Alert." She pressed 2 fingers to his wrist. Pulse was rapid and thready. His skin was clammy and cold. Classic signs of cardiac distress. "Thomas, I'm Maya. I have first aid training. Can you tell me what hurts?" He managed a single word. "Chest." Maya's hands were already pulling out her phone. She dialed 911 with shaking fingers while checking Thomas's breathing more carefully. This wasn't just a panic attack or indigestion. This was serious. 911. "What's your emergency?" "I'm at Lincoln Memorial Hospital, employee entrance on Morrison Street. There's a man, approximately 55 years old, experiencing severe chest pain with signs of possible myocardial infarction. He needs immediate medical attention." "Ma'am, is he conscious?" "Yes, but barely. Pulse is rapid and weak. Skin is pale and diaphoretic. Help is on the way. Stay with him. Keep him calm. Do not leave him alone." Maya looked at her phone as she ended the call. 6:52 a.m. 38 minutes left. The testing center was still 12 blocks away. If she ran at full speed, she might make it with minutes to spare. Maybe she could flag down someone else to stay with Thomas. Maybe hospital security would come. Maybe. Thomas's hand suddenly gripped her wrist with surprising strength. His eyes locked onto hers, filled with fear and desperation. "Please," he whispered, "don't leave." And in that moment, staring into the terrified eyes of a complete stranger who was potentially dying alone on a cold Portland sidewalk, Maya Chun made her choice. "I'm not going anywhere," she said firmly. "I'm staying right here with you." Time moved differently in crisis. Maya had learned that during her EMT training, but experiencing it was entirely different than reading about it in a textbook. She positioned Thomas on his back, elevating his head slightly with her backpack. She kept talking to him, keeping him conscious and calm, asking him questions about his life, his family, anything to keep his mind focused on staying present. "Do you have family, Thomas?" He nodded weakly. "Wife, Maria. Daughter, Isabella. She's graduating college next month." "That's wonderful. You're going to be there to see it. Help is coming." Thomas's breathing was getting more labored. Maya could see the pain etched across his face as his heart struggled to pump blood through blocked arteries. 6:55 a.m. 35 minutes until the exam. Where was the ambulance? They were literally outside a hospital. How was this taking so long? "Tell me about Isabella," Maya said, squeezing Thomas's hand. "What's she studying?" "Engineering," Thomas managed with a ghost of a proud smile. "First in our family college degree. She's brilliant. You must be so proud. Everything for her. Maria and I worked so hard, wanted her to have what we didn't." Maya understood that completely. That was exactly what her parents were doing for her. Working themselves to exhaustion so their daughter could have opportunities they'd never had. 6:58 a.m. 32 minutes. A security guard finally emerged from the hospital's back entrance, drawn by the unusual sight of a young woman in a heavy coat kneeling beside one of the maintenance staff. "What's going on here?" he asked, hurrying over. "Cardiac emergency," Maya said quickly. "I called 911 at 6:50. Where's the ambulance?" The guard radioed immediately. "We need emergency response at the Morrison Street entrance. Maintenance worker down. Possible heart attack." Thomas's grip on Maya's hand was weakening. His eyes were starting to close. No, Thomas, stay with me," Maya said urgently. "Talk to me about Maria. How long have you been married?" His eyes fluttered open. 32 years. Met her at church. She was most beautiful thing I ever saw. She's lucky to have you, and you're lucky to have her. Think about seeing her today. Think about telling Isabella about her graduation. 7:02 a.m. 28 minutes. Finally, Maya heard sirens. An ambulance rounded the corner, lights flashing, followed by a hospital emergency team with a gurney. Paramedics swarmed around Thomas with practiced efficiency. One of them, a woman with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a tight bun, glanced at Maya as she prepared in 4-line. "You the one who called it in?" "Yes, ma'am. Good work keeping him stable and conscious. That probably saved his life." The other paramedic was already administering medication and hooking Thomas up to a portable EKG machine. The readout confirmed what Maya had suspected. ST elevation myocardial infarction. A major heart attack. They loaded Thomas onto the gurney. As they prepared to wheel him inside, he reached out and grabbed Maya's hand one more time. "Thank you," he said, his voice stronger with the oxygen mask now covering his face. "You saved my life. You're going to be fine," Maya said, squeezing his hand. "Tell Isabella the first said congratulations." And then they were gone, disappearing through the hospital doors, leaving Maya standing alone on the sidewalk with her backpack and her phone showing 7:05 a.m. 25 minutes until her exam. Maya started running. Maya had never considered herself athletic. She was the girl who barely passed PE class, who got winded climbing stairs, who preferred books to basketball courts. But that morning she ran like an Olympic sprinter. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. Her backpack bounced painfully against her spine with every stride. She dodged pedestrians, leaped over a puddle, nearly collided with a bicycle courier. 12 blocks, 11 blocks, 10 blocks. Her phone bounced in her pocket. She could feel it buzzing with texts from her mother, probably sending encouraging messages, probably saying prayers, having no idea that Maya wasn't even at the testing center yet. 9 blocks, 8 blocks. Maya's vision was blurring at the edges. She couldn't breathe properly. The cold air felt like knives in her throat. 7 blocks, 6 blocks. A stitch developed in her side, sharp and insistent. Maya pressed her hand against it and kept running. 5 blocks, 4 blocks. She could see it now. The community college building where the exam was being administered. The entrance with the banner reading, MCAT Testing Center. 3 blocks, 2 blocks. Maya was going to make it. She was actually going to make it. Tears of relief streamed down her face as she pushed herself harder. 1 block. 7:29 a.m. Maya burst through the doors of the building, gasping for air, her hair plastered to her face with sweat despite the October cold. The hallway was empty. She ran down the corridor to room 215, where the testing was taking place. The door was closed. A sign hung on the handle, "Exam in progress. Do not enter. Late arrivals will not be admitted." Maya pulled on the door handle. It was locked. She knocked frantically. "Please, I'm here. Please let me in." No response. She knocked harder, desperation rising in her throat like bile. "Please, I had an emergency. Please." The door cracked open. A stern-looking woman with glasses peered out, her expression already set in disapproval. "You're late," she said flatly. "I know. I'm so sorry. There was a medical emergency. A man was having a heart attack. I had to." The exam started at 7:30. It is now 7:31. "You're late. Please." It was literally 1 minute. "I ran here as fast as I could. The rules are very clear. No late arrivals. No exceptions. But I was helping someone who was dying." The woman's expression didn't change. "I'm sorry, but the policy is firm. You'll need to re-register for the next available test date, which is 4 months from now. You'll receive information about the rescheduling process via email." "For months? No, you don't understand. My family saved for this. I've been preparing for years. I understand it's disappointing, but a man could have died." Maya's voice cracked. "I couldn't just leave him there." For the briefest moment, something flickered across the woman's face. Sympathy, maybe, respect, but it vanished quickly. "What you did was admirable, but it doesn't change testing policy." "I'm very sorry." The door closed. Maya stood in the empty hallway, her hand still raised to knock again, and felt her entire world collapse around her. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the cold linoleum floor, pulled her knees to her chest, and cried harder than she'd cried since the day her brother had his accident. 6 years of preparation, gone. Her family's savings, wasted. Her dream of medical school, delayed by months, maybe longer, all because she'd stopped to help a stranger. Maya didn't know how long she sat in that hallway. Eventually, she became aware of someone sitting down beside her. She looked up. It was the stern woman from the exam room, but her expression had softened considerably. "I'm Dr. Patricia Walsh," she said quietly. "I'm the exam coordinator for this region." Maya wiped her eyes with her sleeve, embarrassed to be crying in front of this woman who'd just crushed her dreams. "I called the hospital," Dr. Walsh continued. "Lincoln Memorial. I spoke with the ER supervisor. A man named Thomas Rivera was brought in this morning with a massive heart attack. They said a young woman's quick thinking and first aid probably saved his life. Maya nodded, not trusting herself to speak. The paramedics mentioned your name. They said you stayed with him even though you clearly had somewhere urgent to be. I had the exam, Maya said, her voice hollow. Yes, and you missed it because you chose to save someone's life instead. Dr. Walsh was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? Why didn't you just call 911 and leave? You'd already alerted emergency services. You could have made it on time. He asked me to stay. He was terrified. He thought he was dying alone, and I couldn't leave him like that. Dr. Walsh nodded slowly, as if this confirmed something she'd been thinking. Maya. May I call you Maya? Yes, ma'am. Maya. I've been administering this exam for 12 years. I've seen hundreds of aspiring medical students. The brilliant ones, the dedicated ones, the ones who've memorized every textbook. But do you know what I rarely see? Maya shook her head. Compassion that costs you everything. Real, genuine compassion that makes you sacrifice your own future for a stranger's life. Dr. Walsh stood up and extended her hand. Come with me. Confused, Maya let herself be helped to her feet. Dr. Walsh led her back to room 215, unlocked the door, and gestured inside. What are you doing? Maya asked, her heart suddenly racing with hope she didn't dare trust. Making an exception, Dr. Walsh said firmly. An exception that I will personally defend to the testing board if necessary. You have 4 hours to complete the exam. Your time starts now. Maya stared at her in disbelief. But the policy exists to ensure fairness. And I think it's only fair that someone who demonstrates the exact qualities we want in a doctor doesn't get punished for showing them when it matters most. Dr. Walsh smiled. Besides, if we're training doctors who'll walk past dying people to make it to exams on time, we're training the wrong kind of doctors. Maya burst into fresh tears, but these were different. These were tears of relief, gratitude, and overwhelming emotion. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Just do your best. And Maya, Dr. Walsh paused at the door. Whatever happens with this exam, you're already the kind of doctor the world needs. Remember that. Maya sat down at the testing desk, hands still shaking, and began the exam that she'd almost lost everything to take. The envelope arrived on a Saturday morning in January. Maya was home for winter break from her first semester at Portland State University, where she'd enrolled in pre-med courses while waiting for her MCAT results. The return address read, Lincoln Memorial Hospital. Maya's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter on hospital stationery. Dear Maya, my name is Maria Rivera, and you saved my husband's life. Thomas is home now, recovering well from bypass surgery. The doctors said that without immediate intervention that morning, he wouldn't have made it. They said a young woman stayed with him, kept him calm, and probably prevented him from going into complete cardiac arrest before the paramedics arrived. We wanted to find you to say thank you, but we only had your first name. Then Thomas saw an article in the Portland Tribune, a story about a student who missed her medical entrance exam because she stopped to help a heart attack victim. The article said the testing coordinator had allowed you to take the exam late, and that your story had inspired the testing board to review their policies about emergency exceptions. Thomas knew it was you immediately. We would love to meet you properly, to thank you, to tell you how much your kindness meant to our family. Our daughter Isabella is getting married in April. We would be honored if you would attend as our special guest. With eternal gratitude, Maria Rivera. Maya read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Her mother Nina found her sitting at the kitchen table, clutching the paper. Mija, what's wrong? Maya handed her the letter. Nina read it, her own eyes filling with tears. You're going to that wedding, Nina said firmly. We'll get you a beautiful dress. This family wants to thank you properly. Mama, They don't owe me anything. No, but they want to show their gratitude. That's different. And you should let them. 3 days later, another envelope arrived. This one was from the MCAT testing board. Maya's hands were shaking so badly her father James had to open it for her. He read it silently, his face unreadable. Then a smile spread across his features. Score of 516, he said quietly. 90th percentile. Maya's knees went weak. Nina grabbed her in a crushing hug. Daniel whooped from the living room where he'd been pretending not to eavesdrop. You did it, James said, his voice thick with emotion. You missed the exam to save someone's life, and then you came back and scored in the top 10% anyway. I can apply to medical schools, Maya whispered, the reality sinking in. I can actually apply. That night, her entire family went to her favorite Thai restaurant to celebrate. They ordered too much food and laughed too loudly and didn't care about anything except this moment of pure joy. But the best surprise was yet to come. April arrived with cherry blossoms and rain showers. Maya stood in her mother's room, wearing a dress they'd found at a consignment shop. Elegant and simple, perfect for a wedding. You look beautiful, Nina said, fastening a necklace around Maya's throat. It had been her grandmother's. A simple silver chain that Nina only wore on special occasions. Are you sure I should go? I don't even really know them. They invited you because you matter to them, because what you did mattered. Go. Celebrate with them. The wedding was held at a community center in southeast Portland, decorated simply but beautifully with white roses and twinkling lights. Maya arrived early, nervous and uncertain, clutching the gift she'd brought. A framed photo of cherry blossoms with a quote about new beginnings. Maya. She turned to see a man walking toward her with a big smile. He looked healthy and strong, nothing like the gray, gasping figure she'd found on the sidewalk. But she recognized his eyes. Thomas. He pulled her into a gentle hug. Thank you for coming. Maria and I are so happy you're here. A woman appeared at his side, petite and elegant, with Thomas's same warm smile. I'm Maria. Thank you for saving my husband, for giving us more time together. I just did what anyone would. No, Maria interrupted firmly but kindly. Not anyone. You sacrificed something important. Thomas told me about your exam, about how you stayed even though you had somewhere crucial to be. It worked out, Maya said. I took the test later. I got my scores. I'm applying to medical schools. Maria's eyes lit up. That's wonderful. Where are you applying? They talked until the ceremony started. Maya sat in the back, feeling slightly out of place among the Rivera family and friends. But the warmth she felt from everyone she met made those feelings fade quickly. Isabella was a beautiful bride. As she walked down the aisle on Thomas's arm, his face glowing with pride and health, Maya felt a lump form in her throat. This moment almost didn't happen. This father almost didn't get to walk his daughter down the aisle. During the reception, Thomas stood to give a toast. But instead of talking only about the bride and groom, he talked about second chances. 3 months ago, he said, his voice carrying across the room, I had a heart attack in front of the hospital where I've worked for 20 years. And I might have died there if not for a 17-year-old girl who stopped when everyone else walked by. Maya felt everyone's eyes turn to her. Her face flushed. This young woman missed the most important exam of her life to stay with me. A stranger. Because she understood something that I think we all forget sometimes. That people matter more than plans. That kindness matters more than convenience. Thomas's eyes found Maya's across the room. Maya-chan, would you please stand up? Reluctantly, Maya stood, her heart pounding. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the person who saved my life. This is the person who made today possible. This is the kind of human being we should all aspire to be. The room erupted in applause. Maya stood there, overwhelmed and emotional, as dozens of strangers clapped for her. But Thomas wasn't finished. Maria and I wanted to do something to thank you. We're not wealthy people, but we've saved money over the years for Isabella's education. She got scholarships and graduated without needing most of it. He pulled out an envelope. We'd like to give you $15,000 toward your medical school education. Not as payment, you can't pay someone for saving a life, but as an investment in the kind of doctor you're going to become. Maya couldn't breathe. $15,000. That would cover her first year's books, fees, living expenses. We can't accept this, she stammered. It's too much. You can and you will, Maria said, walking over to place the envelope in Maya's hands. Because someone who stops to save a stranger's life deserves every opportunity to save many more. Maya was crying openly now. The entire room seemed to be tearing up with her. Isabella approached and hugged her tightly. Thank you for giving me my father, for making sure he could be here today. That night, Maya drove home with the envelope on the passenger seat, her mind spinning. She called her mother from the car. Mama, you won't believe what happened. She told her everything. Nina cried. Then she called James. He cried too. Then Daniel got on the phone. See, he said, good things happen to good people. You always tell me that, and you were right. Maya opened the email with shaking hands. Her roommate Jessica hovered behind her, equally nervous. Well, Jessica demanded. What does it say? Maya read the first line and burst into tears. Dear Ms. Chun, congratulations. We are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to the Oregon Health and Science University School of Medicine. Jessica screamed and hugged her. Within minutes, Maya was on the phone with her parents, who were crying and celebrating simultaneously. But the email wasn't finished. There was a second paragraph that Maya had been too excited to read initially. We were particularly moved by your personal statement about the morning you assisted a heart attack victim, missing your entrance exam to provide potentially life-saving care. Your story exemplifies the compassion and dedication we seek in future physicians. Additionally, we are pleased to offer you the Dr. Patricia Walsh Merit Scholarship, which will cover your full tuition for all 4 years of medical school. Maya had to read it 3 times to believe it. Dr. Walsh, the woman who'd let her take the exam late, who'd defended her to the board, who'd told her she was already the kind of doctor the world needed, had created a scholarship in her own name. And Maya was the first recipient. The acceptance letter specified that the scholarship was designed for students who demonstrated exceptional compassion and character, even at personal cost. Maya immediately called Dr. Walsh's office. When the familiar voice answered, Maya could barely speak through her tears. Dr. Walsh, I got the letter. I got accepted, and the scholarship. I don't know what to say. Say you'll work hard and become an excellent doctor. Dr. Walsh replied warmly. That's all the thanks I need. But why? Why did you do this for me? There was a pause. Then Dr. Walsh said quietly, 30 years ago, I was pre-med. I was walking to an important lab practical when I saw a car accident. Someone was trapped inside, bleeding. I kept walking because I couldn't miss my exam. Maya went silent. I passed the exam, Dr. Walsh continued. I became a doctor, but I never forgot that moment. I never forgot choosing my grade over someone's life. The person survived. Firefighters arrived minutes later. But I walked past, and I've regretted it every day since. Dr. Walsh, you made the choice I should have made. You reminded me why we become doctors in the first place. So yes, I created a scholarship, and I'll create more in the future, because we need doctors who understand that patients are people, not test questions. We need doctors like you. Maya cried for the 3rd time that day, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming realization that her choice that October morning had rippled outward in ways she never could have imagined. For years flew by. Medical school was the hardest thing Maya had ever done. Endless studying, sleepless nights, impossible exams, emotional clinical rotations. But she loved every minute of it. She specialized in emergency medicine. It seemed fitting. On her graduation day, Maya stood in her white coat, the one she'd earned through years of sacrifice and dedication, and scanned the audience. Her parents were there, beaming with pride. Daniel, now in college himself, gave her a thumbs up. Jessica and her other friends waved excitedly. But there were also other faces she'd invited. Dr. Patricia Walsh, who'd given her a second chance and changed the trajectory of her life. Thomas and Maria Rivera, who'd invested in her education and her future. Isabella and her husband, who'd welcomed her into their family. Even Ron, the pharmacist from that long-ago morning. She'd tracked him down to thank him for his role in her journey. When Maya's name was called and she walked across the stage to receive her medical degree, the cheers from her section were deafening. After the ceremony, as everyone gathered for photos and celebrations, Thomas approached her. He looked older now, grayer, moving a bit slower. But he was alive. He'd seen 4 more years of sunrises. He'd held his newborn grandson. He'd celebrated 3 more anniversaries with Maria. "Dr. Chun," he said with a smile. "It has a nice ring to it." "It does," Maya agreed. "And I owe it all to you." "No, Maya. I owe my life to you. We saved each other that morning," Maya said. "You taught me what being a doctor really means. Being willing to sacrifice for someone who needs you, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." Maria joined them, slipping her hand into Thomas's. "We're so proud of you. Sarah would be too." Maya had told them about her motivation, about watching the paramedics save her brother Daniel, about deciding she wanted to spend her life helping others the way they'd helped her family. "Where will you do your residency?" Maria asked. "Lincoln Memorial Hospital. Emergency medicine. I start in 2 weeks." Thomas's face lit up. "The same hospital where you saved my life by letting me save yours," Maya finished. Yes, seemed right, coming full circle. Later that evening, Maya stood outside Lincoln Memorial, looking up at the building. She walked around to the Morrison Street entrance, the employee entrance where, 4 years ago, she'd found a dying man and made a choice that changed everything. The brick wall was still there, the spot where Thomas had collapsed, where Maya had knelt beside him and decided that one person's life mattered more than her own convenience. She thought about all the moments that had led to this one. The choice, the run, the shut door, Dr. Walsh's exception, Thomas's recovery, the scholarship, medical school, and now, finally, becoming the doctor she'd always dreamed of being. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "So proud of you, Mija. Your patients will be lucky to have you." Maya smiled and typed back, "I'm the lucky one. I got to learn that saving lives is worth whatever it costs." Dr. Maya Chun was finishing a brutal 12-hour ER shift when a familiar name appeared on the patient board. Thomas Rivera. Chest pain. Room 7. Her heart dropped. She grabbed the chart and rushed to the room, fearing the worst. But Thomas wasn't dying. He was sitting up in bed, looking sheepish, with Maria beside him holding his hand. "False alarm," he said with an embarrassed smile. "Indigestion. I was being paranoid." Maya's relief was overwhelming. She did a full cardiac workup anyway, just to be sure. Everything was fine. "You scared me," she said, finishing her examination. "I know. I'm sorry." Maria said I was overreacting, but after what happened before. "No, you did the right thing. Chest pain is always worth checking. Always." As Maya prepared to discharge him, Thomas said quietly, 7 years ago this week. Since that morning. Maya nodded. She'd never forgotten the date. October 15th. 7 years of life I wouldn't have had without you, Thomas continued. 7 years of watching my grandson grow, of celebrating with Maria, of seeing Isabella buy her first house. All because you stopped. And 7 years of being a doctor because you helped me understand what really matters, Maya replied. Maria stood and hugged Maya tightly. We tell everyone about you, you know, about the girl who changed our lives. And I tell my medical students about you, Maya said. About the morning I learned that saving one person's life is worth any sacrifice. As they left, Maya returned to the nurse's station to complete her paperwork. A first-year resident approached her nervously. Dr. Chun, can I ask you something? Of course. How do you balance it all? Patient care, your own life, the pressure, the impossible choices. Maya thought back to that October morning, to standing at a crossroads between her future and a stranger's life, to the choice that had seemed so hard at the time but was actually so simple. You remember why you became a doctor, Maya said. You remember that people matter more than schedules, that compassion costs something, but it's always worth it. And you stop when someone needs help, even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient. The resident nodded thoughtfully and walked away. Maya finished her shift, changed out of her scrubs, and headed home through the Portland evening. The October air was crisp and cool, reminding her of another October 7 years ago. She passed a bus stop where a woman sat slumped over, clearly unwell. Without hesitation, Maya stopped. Ma'am, are you all right? Do you need help? Because that's who Maya Chun had become. That's who she'd always been, really. Someone who stops. Someone who helps. Someone who understands that the most important test we ever take isn't in a classroom. It's in the moments when we have to choose between our own convenience and someone else's need. And Maya had passed that test on a foggy October morning when she chose compassion over convenience, sacrifice over success, and someone else's life over her own future. In the end, she'd gained far more than she'd lost, because kindness always comes back. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it comes in ways you never expected. But it always comes back. And the life you save might just save yours in return. Have you ever had to make an impossible choice? Have you ever stopped to help someone when it cost you something important? Share your story in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Stories like Maya's remind us that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they're just 17-year-old students running to pharmacies in the cold October morning, choosing compassion when it costs everything. Thanks for watching, and remember, the life you save might just save yours in return. See you in the next story.